to some degree, these images represent the notion of hydration, okay? And the question I really want to answer initially with you here is, why is hydration important? Why is it, I'm going to say, why is it important? Why is maintaining fluid levels, let's think about it in a performance sense, why is it actually important? So let's see if we can address this. Well, the first kind of big picture concept I'll make for you is that water has a role in every, keyword, in every function of the body. Okay, so every function involves water in one framework or another. Now, we're not going to get into cell tissue fluid, we're not going to get into osmosis and osmotic conditions, but if we just accept at face value that every single function involves water, we can start to perhaps realize why remaining hydrated and replacing lost fluids is so important. Let's take that a little bit deeper. Well, I don't know if it's deeper, but water is directly implicated in cell function. Now, this is not going to surprise you. In biology, you are studying eukaryotic and animal cell, and therefore animal cells, and therefore, to an extent, human cells, right? You know that the cytoplasm of the cell is one of the core functions, and that broadly is made up of a watery type substance. So cell function and things like anaerobic respiration happen inside that cytoplasm. So cell function is actually really important from this perspective. And two further points I want to make here is that and this of course is not a cell, our blood plasma is broadly made up of water, okay? Now, this is a really important point, and I want to just sort of pull this image in here at this particular point. We might not think about blood when it comes to hydration and water, but remember that the fluid part of blood is itself the plasma, and is itself, over 90% of plasma is actually water, okay? So that suspensory fluid of the blood is made up of water predominantly, and therefore if we've got too little, that blood can become actually more viscous, more sticky, and therefore harder to move around, and of course that has implications. And finally, guys, and you'll be studying this broadly in your biological studies, but water is crucial in the process of respiration. Now, I'm not going to get into this here, why that would be the case. You'll know what the reactants and the products of respiration are from your other studies, and indeed from PE. But of course, if we just summarize it, that within that cell included is respiration, and that is also involves water. So this hydration is really, really important. We know that we lose water when we are performing, right? So therefore, we've got to think about replacing it. Now, I want to bring some points to you. I want to talk about staying hydrated. So I guess to some degree, this is an instruction from me to you. Hey, stay hydrated. Look, I mean, you guys will do what you want to do, but through performance, for performance aspects, you know, obviously we want to think about maintaining hydration. So when and how? So I'm going to break this into 3 stages. A bit ugly, I know, but I'm going to say over here, we are talking about before performance, okay? So before performance, what should we be doing? There's a couple of things. First of all, you might want to consider testing your urine. Don't worry, not in that way. But what we're talking about here, let me find a way of representing it. If you have a wee and your wee is this color, there is a problem. It would be even worse, by the way, if it was kind of this color. That would be really disturbing. But as that kind of wee gets a little bit lighter, and I'll try and show you a bit of a scale. I don't know how well I'm going to do this, but I'll sort of take you to lighter and lighter and lighter. So as our wee is lighter and lighter, and if I'm getting sort of very wee colory textures here, sort of as our wee gets down to being kind of this kind of color, sort of straw color at the end, okay, what we've got here is that this up here is more dehydrated, and down here is less dehydrated. So that's a nice thing you can do. You can test your urine. There's charts that you can use. Feel free to do that, and you can get the specifics. I'm just giving you a bit of a guide. Dark urine color means more dehydrated. Light urine color means less dehydrated. But before, of course, I mean, a real simple thing is we want to drink regularly. I worked for a long time with a really great athlete, and we used to talk about the concept of continuous sipping. It's just something for you to maybe consider as a concept. I don't know how scientific it is, but it's a nice sort of memory item, I suppose. And the other thing is we would encourage some kind of drink immediately before, okay? And there's a couple of reasons that a drink, and I'm not talking about a huge drink, but sort of taking on some water immediately before performance is a good idea. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is, of course, as you begin to move towards performance, your levels elevate. You're warming up. You also might get that adrenaline release. This may cost you some water, so that initial replacement is worth consideration. The other thing, of course, is that as you start performing, you're rapidly going to lose water. So you're trying to almost kind of get ahead of that. So there's some considerations for you. Secondly, obviously, we want to think about during performance. During the performance, what should the performer be doing? So let's think about that. So first thing I would say is that the performer, especially if it's a long, engaged performance like a marathon or a triathlon or a road cycling event, the performer needs some kind of drinking strategy. It should be pre-designated what and how the performer is going to be taking on. But it's really important that the taking on of fluids is regular. I cannot stress that enough. It shouldn't be a reaction to getting thirsty and dehydrated. And the point I would make here, and I wonder if this is going to make sense to you, fluids should be taken on what I would describe as pre-thirst, before the thirst actually strikes the performer. And finally, guys, we're going to have a think here about after exercise, okay? After exercise, what should hydration look like? So first and foremost, it should be immediate. Now, you won't find that hard, because when you've worked really hard on the football pitch or in the gym, or you've worked really hard in a tennis match or whatever it happens to be, you're going to be thirsty, so you're going to want to take on fluids. But we want it to be immediate. And another one, guys, we want it to be not, and you guys are too young anyway, sure, you've never done such things, but it must be not alcoholic. And the reason that is because alcohol in all of its forms are a type of diuretic. And by diuretic, we mean that they sort of de-water you. I don't want to get into osmosis here. You guys have studied that broadly in your biology, but alcohol will cause the loss of water from cells. Okay. Now, you guys know why that is, I'm assuming, so I won't go into it here, but just bear that in mind with regard to alcohol. Thanks.